Let's review some draft options at the number 2 overall pick. What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Sharks Latest. I'm your host, Jimmy, here to bring you everything regarding your favorite hockey team. If you can't get enough Team Teal, my friends, come join that Sharks Latest family and hit that subscribe button below. Don't forget that notification bell as well. So we woke up yet again. I woke up this morning pinching myself, trying to wake up from this fantastic dream. It's a reality, my friends. It is a reality. The San Jose Sharks have that number 2 overall pick. And I was going to wait to do this series for a little bit later on, but I've seen a lot of comments. I see a lot of interactions. I just see the excitement from Sharks fans about this number 2 overall pick, about this upcoming draft, about this off season, and what it could do for this team to project us for the future. So I said, screw it, y'all. Let's go ahead and move this series up, and we will begin. So basically, for the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 days, because the San Jose Sharks have 8 draft picks right now. Anything can happen. Trades can happen, right? But as of right now, San Jose Sharks have 8 draft picks going into this year's draft. So every day for the next 8 days, I will review 4 players that will be, well, considered options for the San Jose Sharks at each one of their draft picks, starting off with the number 2 overall. And so let's get right into it. I think it goes without being said that the top player in this draft is Gavin McKenna. I also assume and expect, just like the rest of the Sharks fans out there, that Gavin McKenna will be the number 1 overall selection. So there is a strong chance that this player will not be available when the San Jose Sharks pick at number 2. But anything can happen. You can find the Toronto Maple Leafs falling in love with maybe a defenseman, falling in love with a different forward. We've seen stranger things happen in professional sports. So the Sharks would be doing themselves a disservice if they didn't go out and do their homework on Gavin McKenna, and so that's exactly what I did as well. So he is the number 1 consensus overall pick and top player in this draft. Depending on who you talk to, there's a lot of people out there. And this is what I love. Right now, there is a divide in the comment section I've noticed in my past few videos. Sharks fans are divided. These are all good problems to have, my friends. Half of the Sharks fans I'm reading comments on, they want best player available. They want to take a forward. They want to continue supporting our offense and Macklin Celebrini. And then, of course, you have half of the Sharks fans that we want to draft for need, and we got to get a defenseman. Got to go out and get one of the top defensemen out there. We'll see what GMMG does. And sorry to break away from Gavin McKenna to get into this little rant real quick, but it needs to be said. Now, GMMG did say in his interview, he's going to take the best player available. That's what he's going to do. That's what he did last year. That's what he plans on doing again this year. Sometimes those are smoke screens, my friend, right? And so I think GMMG is very smart for coming out and using that verbiage. And you might ask why. Well, if you look at all the other NHL, let's use Vancouver as an example. Vancouver went into the draft lottery thinking and assuming they were going to get the number 1 overall pick, if not the number 2. I think they're quite surprised that they have the number 3 overall pick and that they're not going to have the opportunity, most likely, maybe, at getting what most people consider the top 2 players in this draft. But what GMMG is smart to do is to put in, whether it's a smoke screen or not, it's good to say the words he said, taking the best player available. Because once again, the consensus out there, if you do enough research, a lot of articles and opinions are that the top 2 forwards in this draft, which are Gavin McKenna and Ivar Stenberg, those are the top 2 players in this draft by far. And then a lot of your articles, if you do read and do a little bit of homework, will mention that the talent level does drop off. It's not a dramatic drop off, but nonetheless, it is a drop off from the top two. They're on this level. Everybody else is down here and under. So if you're going to take best player available, on paper, it's got to be one of these two forwards, you would think. Well, the San Jose Sharks, obviously, their biggest need is defense, and that's by far. So drafting for need, you'll see the Sharks get the best defenseman in the draft. Drafting best player available, you'll probably see the San Jose Sharks draft one of these two forwards if available. What that allows the San Jose Sharks to do is up the value of that number 2 overall pick. Now, I don't see the San Jose Sharks trading this pick away at all, my friends. But, hey, if somebody comes knocking and calling and they have a king's ransom to offer the San Jose Sharks for that number 2 overall pick, especially if it comes with some good players that can really propel this team into a playoff and Stanley Cup contender next season, well, you better believe the Sharks would be foolish not to entertain that offer. And so that's what GMMG has done by quoting taking the best player available. The Vancouver Canucks can think all day long. Sharks need a defenseman. They're going to take a defenseman, which means one of those two forwards is going to fall to us at number 3. GMMG said, no, pump the brakes on that. We might be taking that other forward, which does say, if you guys want to come up and get that forward, you better offer me that king's ransom. So shout out to that, but the Sharks will probably draft a player at number 2. So we hope it's Gavin McKenna that falls to us at number 2. What he is the top player in this draft, not by far, but it's easy to see. Don't matter who picks at number 1 overall. Your number 1 overall pick is going to be Gavin McKenna. It's got to be. So he played 32 games last season in the NCAA for Penn State, had 14 goals, 34 assists, 48 points in 32 games. He's a scorer, y'all. 50% of his goals came on the power play last season. So he's a guy that can get things done when things need to be getting done. He has great anticipation on the ice. His awareness is fantastic. That's what you want to see out of a player that is young at 18 and a half years old. A great passer, a great skater, and he is an absolute playmaker with a quick shot. So he is someone that is going to complement, as far as Macklin Celebrini or a potential top liner, he's going to be someone that can complement that well and also add in some scoring ability next to Will Smith and Macklin Celebrini. That's what we project. Whoever we pick with this number 2 overall pick, we highly project this individual, if they're a forward, being put into that top line eventually. Now, with this, his puck control is awesome. He has a great IQ, just understands the game of hockey, has the ability to slow the game down, and that's what you want. So I'm sure the Sharks, being in the position that they're in, they would prefer to have a player that's going to be available and ready to play at an NHL level faster than others. And that's what Gavin McKenna is. He doesn't need a whole lot of time to get his bearings. He should be someone that can hit the ground running pretty quick. Doesn't have a whole lot of negatives when it comes to his game. One thing that we did point out, and it's very typical for young NHL prospects to have this con. His con that we have on him, per the notes that I have, is he needs to understand that he doesn't need to do it all. We've had many Sharks players do that last season, where they just put a lot on their plate. They didn't, maybe whether it was trust or chemistry or just maybe trust in themselves, didn't spread the puck around and tried to do too much, whether it was trying to deke around players, trying to set up their own shots, not passing it off, and trying to do a give and go, if you will. I call that Superman syndrome. You can't be mad at someone that has more talent than others on the ice getting into that mindset and trying to do it all. Well, you have that talent, and you usually have the ability to do that. But once you get to the NHL, things are going to change. Gavin will become, he's not going to go up against as easy as defensemen as he did or individuals that he did in college, right? The talent level is going to naturally just go up. That's what happens when you go from college to the professionals. I don't care what sport you're playing. You're going to see the natural, what's the word, the best word I'm looking for? Just the natural, I don't know, I guess the competition, the natural competition around you. Even the worst NHL players are going to be better than a lot of the better college players, right? And that's just how it works. So that's what we want to see Gavin McKenna work at, is just trusting the players around him. Of course, you put him on a line next to Macklin Celebrini, guaranteed he's going to have that. So he's someone that I don't expect being available at the number 2 overall pick. But if he is, y'all, Sharks fans will continue to pinch themselves and think that they are dreaming. Now, even if he does get taken number 1 overall, there still will be a fantastic forward to be selected if the Sharks want to continue going best player available. This is my opinion, y'all. Everyone has their own opinions, and that'll be the question of the day for you all. Give me some comments below. Who do you think the San Jose Sharks should take number 2 overall? Who do you think is the best player available for the Sharks? Or do you think Sharks need to go for need 100% and should be drafting a defenseman at this spot, no matter who is available, even if you agree that Ivar Stenberg is going to be a better overall player than the defenseman in this draft? So Ivar Stenberg, he played last season in the SHL, which is Sweden's top professional league. So that's something you like to see. You like to see somebody coming from these European leagues where they might have a different level of competition going on there. And that's what you got from him. He does bring a little bit better size, not much, very similar size to Gavin McKenna, but does bring a little bit more weight. Both are at 6 feet, but you do have Stenberg coming in at 181 pounds. So he's not the biggest forward, not the smallest forward either, but he is a left-handed winger. I should have said that for Gavin McKenna as well. Both Gavin and Ivar are left-handed shots, which is very good and something that the San Jose Sharks do need on that top line. So in 45 games in the SHL last season, you did see Ivar Stenberg getting 11 goals scored, 22 assists, 33 points. So that means point per game wise, he is second all-time in the SHL, my friends, when it comes to scoring points and averaging points per game in your draft year. So in the last year of their competition in the SHL, he actually averaged second in points per game, and that's all time. So that's something to be said there. He is an excellent playmaker. What I like about Ivar Stenberg is that his claim to fame and his best ability is his passing ability. He has great ice IQ. He just understands what's going on. His anticipation is fantastic. He knows, like almost in chess, he's thinking 2 steps ahead, 1 step ahead, and that allows him to understand where the puck needs to go, where to pass the puck, and in my opinion, could be a better complement on the top line to a Macklin Celebrini or to a Will Smith, because that's what Macklin needs. You saw last season, Coach Warsofsky just kept plugging random people onto that top line, and even in one of his interviews mentioned, I'm just trying to put players out there to see how they play with Macklin. And so Ivar Stenberg is a player that I imagine would mesh very, very well on that top line next to Macklin Celebrini and really allow Macklin to unlock more of his scoring ability that we know he continue to have in him. So I'll be honest, Gavin McKenna is always going to be the top choice. If he's there, Sharks better take him. I'm on the fence, my friends, whether I want the Sharks to go need and get a defenseman or if I want the Sharks to go with Ivar Stenberg, which if Gavin's taken, Ivar's available, so are all the defensemen in the draft. I do believe Stenberg will be the best player available. He's got great balance. He does not, this is something big, one of my notes that I have for him, is he does not get caught puck watching. That was a big issue for a lot of the San Jose Sharks forwards last season. You saw that opponents against the San Jose Sharks were able to set up 3-on-2s a little easier than they should have, 2-on-1s a little easier than they should have. And part of the reason for that is a lot of the Sharks forwards were caught puck watching. Instead of trying to identify where the players are around them that don't have the puck and where they're trying to be to make sure they're blocking them or blocking passing lanes to them, you rather saw a lot of the young Sharks forwards watching the guy that has the puck, losing the guy that doesn't have the puck, and that allowed them to get into those open passing lanes and get open shots on the net, right? So that's something that Ivar Stenberg can come in and naturally improve for the San Jose Sharks. Good deker, good puck controller. He's not the fastest skater. That's something, if you were to point out his cons, just like with Gavin McKenna, he has to add some strength, has to add a little bit of that power to his game. That's almost every prospect coming into the NHL, my friends. For the most part, all of these prospects have to add some size and strength, but we'd like to see him add some speed as well. But nonetheless, he might be my favorite option at the number 2 overall pick. And so the next 2 that I have are going to be defensemen, because once again, the San Jose Sharks have the biggest need at defense. So I do have 2 defensemen that I will add on here. Once again, give me some comments below if you prefer a different defenseman for the San Jose Sharks than the 2 that I'm going to talk about right now. The first one is Chase Reid, who, depending who you talk to, some people have him as the top defenseman in this draft. Others have my second option, which I'll get to in 1 second here. But Chase Reid got some good size to him, 6'2", 188 pounds. He's a right-handed defenseman who played in the OHL last season. In 45 games, he had 18 goals, 30 assists, 48 points. So out of the 2 defensemen I'm going to talk about, he's the better offensive support. He is very, very good when it comes to his offensive game at the blue line. He is 3rd in points per game for all defensemen in the OHL. Pretty dang good, y'all. He brings really, really good skating to the ice. He is a fantastic skater when it comes to his leverage, when it comes to his balance on the ice. He knows how to use his size to up his skating ability, which is something that you like to see a player learn how to do early on at 18 and a half years old, right? Now, he's a good shooter. He's a good passer. He almost disguises himself as a forward sometimes, which is very good. You know, the Sharks continue to need support on the blue line when it comes to offense. You know, we hoped John Klingberg was going to be able to do that for us last season, and in a sense, he kind of did. Nick Leddy came on a little late with that some kind of support as well, but both of those players are gone. I don't expect Nick Leddy to return to the Sharks. I don't expect John Klingberg to return to the Sharks. And so the Sharks do have somewhat of a need, not just on defense, but also to maintain that offensive support at the blue line, and that's what Chase Reid is going to bring to the San Jose Sharks. Now, the thing that he needs to better his game at, unfortunately, is his defense ability, my friends. He does need to slow the game down a little bit. As far as his IQ and his awareness goes, that's where he seems to be lacking a little bit. He can improve his defensive ability. He does need to get better at identifying and anticipating where players are going to be. So like Ivar Stenberg, who has that chess mentality of thinking 2 steps ahead, Chase Reid seems to be lacking in that ability a little bit, but he's young, and we understand that that is something that's going to improve. One thing that he does have going for him that Ivar did not have going for him, Chase Reid's got that speed. He is a great skater. So the cool thing is when you have speed in sports, but you do lack a little bit of that IQ and awareness, your speed can sometimes make up for some mental errors that you have. And so that's a pro for Chase Reid's game. For his cons that he has on his mental errors and maybe not being able to anticipate where the puck's going, he can make up for that with his speed. And so that's good. So when he does get his own and when he does start to learn the game of hockey more and his IQ and awareness improves, he's going to be dangerous, y'all, because you better believe that speed is not going anywhere. So when he doesn't need to rely upon that speed to help out with his IQ, watch out. He is going to be a force on that blue line. Now, one thing I do have here is that he's going to be playing at Michigan State, my friends. So the downside here is Chase Reid is a blue liner defenseman you're going to have some patience on. You're going to have to wait for him to play a couple of years before he can come to the San Jose Sharks. So this is something that GMMG is going to have to look at. If he is there and he does want to consider taking Chase Reid, also has to consider it may not help the Sharks out as much as you want next season or the season after that. But in 3 years from now, especially when he ups that IQ and awareness, he might end up being a better overall defenseman than maybe the next player I am going to talk about. And that last person we're going to talk about is Keaton Verhoeff. For a lot of people, I think, and for me as well, my friends, I'll just be honest and call it spade a spade right now. He's my top favorite defenseman in this draft. He is someone that if the Sharks are going to go for need, if they are not going to go for best player available, I think they need to draft Keaton Verhoeff. He's the youngest defenseman in this draft. He's still only 17 years old. So his potential is skyrocketing. He did play in the NCAA last season. So he does have experience playing in that college realm at North Dakota. Here's what I love is he brings that size. I do want some size on the blue line. I've been preaching that for a minute, y'all. I want the Sharks to add some size to their defense. And this individual is 6'4", 212 pounds. He is a big body boy. Now, when it comes to his scoring, he's underrated there, but that's not his forte, which once again, I would prefer that. If I'm going to pick a defenseman, I want a defenseman that defense is first, offense is second. So in 30 games last season, he did achieve 6 goals, 14 assists, and 20 points. 20 points in 30 games, that's nothing to laugh at, y'all. That's pretty dang good, right? He was second in points per game in the NCAA last season for players under 19 years old. So let's not pretend he's not going to bring a little bit of that offensive support to the blue line, but his bread and his butter is defense, 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 my friends. He's got a quick release. He can shoot the puck. He has a powerful shot, which is great. He's not afraid to be physical, though, is what I love to see. That's what the Sharks need. The Sharks need some of that toughness, some of that physicality. And 6'4", 212 pounds and not scared to put your body on the line, that sounds like magic for the San Jose Sharks. He improved his awareness throughout the season. That's something that he's going to continue to get better at is his IQ and awareness. I will say he has better awareness right now today than Chase Reid does, but still an area that you will see improve for Keaton Verhoeff, especially being 17 years old, right? But his potential is there. In my opinion, his potential skyrockets Chase Reid. Maybe I shouldn't say skyrockets. That's not fair to Chase Reid. But at least from what I'm seeing now, dude, I think that Verhoeff is going to be the better defenseman in the NHL, in my opinion. He's poised in pressure. At 17 years old, you don't see moments get too big for Keaton Verhoeff. And that's something you want to see because, once again, it seems like he's going to be the player out of the two defensemen I've talked about that's going to be able to reach the NHL level faster and contribute to the San Jose Sharks sooner, which that's something to be said for a team in the position that the Sharks are in right now. Of course, we're looking for development and for the future, but if we can find some faster development to help this team out and reach hopefully the playoffs next season, that's a plus for the San Jose Sharks. Now, he's different than Chase Reid. Keaton Verhoeff is a slow skater. He is not fast on the ice. He's kind of one of those lumberers, if you will. But same thing, because his IQ is a little bit higher, his speed doesn't have to make up necessarily for any kind of mistakes. So his improvements will be on awareness. His improvements can come at the shot selection and his offensive support. But he's your textbook blue liner, my friends, that brings that size, that strength, that tenacity, that toughness. And that's what the San Jose Sharks need. So those are the 4 players that I think the San Jose Sharks will look at the number 2 overall pick. If it was me, if I'm putting my GM hat on and I'm GM Jimmy, of course, Gavin McKenna, if he falls to number 2, would be my number 1 pick for the San Jose Sharks. But just being in reality speaking, who I think the Sharks will in reality take, I think the Sharks will come out and take Ivar Stenberg, the second best forward, and who will be the best player available at the number 2 spot, just like GM MG has preached. But that's what I love about sports, y'all. We all have our opinions, and we cannot be wrong. Just do me a favor, y'all. If you're going to have comments and debates in the comment section, please be respectful to the next individual. Just because somebody has a different opinion than you do on who the Sharks should draft and who are the best players out there, don't be calling anybody names because their opinion is different than yours. We're all here to have fun and enjoy the game of hockey, y'all. But that's all I got for today, my friends. Comment below on who you want the San Jose Sharks to draft at number 2 overall. Tomorrow's video, we'll be talking about options at the second first-round draft pick that the San Jose Sharks have. But I appreciate you all for tuning in. Thank you so much for supporting the show. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment. Follow me on Instagram at SharksLatestHost. That's all I got for today, y'all. I will see you all on Friday. Let's keep it real. Let's keep it teal. Have a great Thursday, everybody. Peace.